On this St. Patrick's Day, as millions of Americans celebrate their Irish heritage, recent events remind us that the Irish were among the first immigrants to be targeted in deportation crackdowns.
In the mid-1800s, New York and Massachusetts enforced policies to have Irish immigrants rounded up and deported.
The American Civil Liberties Union didn't exist then, but if it had, it may have taken the legal position it is taking now, suing the Trump administration to stop what it considers to be the illegal deportation over the weekend of more than 200 migrants to El Salvador.
The big difference now, the administration says many of those flown to Central America are considered by the government to be terrorists.
The administration cited a rarely used 18th century law to justify the deportations. Senior White House correspondent Ed O'Keefe is following the story. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, John. The White House is strongly defending its decision to fly alleged gang members out of the country by using presidential war powers dating back to Thomas Jefferson. The U.S. isn't at war with anyone right now, but the president is picking a legal fight. This deportation flight landed early Sunday in El Salvador. The cameras were ready. Footage, slickly produced by the Salvadoran government, shows they were whisked away to one of the most notorious prisons in the world. CBS News visited last month, finding 80 to 100 men crammed into a cell. Officially, it can hold up to 40,000 prisoners, but at the time was only half full. The Trump administration has vowed to help fill it, paying El Salvador $6 million to take 3 plane loads on Sunday.
These were bad people.
Most were removed under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, last invoked by Franklin D. Roosevelt to detain Japanese immigrants in internment camps during World War II. Today, the White House stood by the president's moves. And so you're saying definitively that the administration can prove everyone that was put on those flights to El Salvador was either a member of Tren de Aragua, MS-13, or some other entity?
We've already provided the breakdown in the effort of transparency about the 261 illegal aliens who were deported.
The White House says most were members of Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang, others from the transnational MS-13 gang, including 2 ringleaders. What criteria, though, other than, say, tattoos or maybe being in the wrong place at the wrong time, are they using to determine that someone is actually a member of one of these organizations?
Intelligence and the men and women on the ground in the interior of our country who are finally being allowed to do their jobs.
The president's use of the law sparked a weekend legal fight where minutes mattered. After the White House revealed it had invoked the act on Saturday, the planes took off. Shortly after, a judge ordered the planes to turn around, but they never did, and a third flight would depart a few minutes later. David Beard tracks immigration policy for the libertarian Cato Institute. Why should any American care about these flights that went and the way those people were sent away?
We have no idea whether these people were in the country legally or illegally, whether they were in a gang or not.
The bigger part of this, perhaps, is that it's part of the ongoing fight over what exactly an American president can do. Is that fair?
Once we get to the point in the country where the president gets to say, I can arrest anyone, I don't have to prove anything, I don't have to go to courts, I don't have to follow the laws as they're written, then that's anarchy.
So, Ed, how much does the White House want this to be a public fight?
Oh, President Trump's been talking about using this law ever since he launched his second White House campaign, so it's no surprise to his supporters. But this is exactly the political and legal fight they want. First of all, polling continues to show a majority of Americans support what he's doing on immigration. They believe this sustains that. And legally, they believe ultimately a conservative-leaning Supreme Court is going to rule in their favor.
And though, what does the judge say at this point about this, Ed?
So there was a hearing today. There's going to be another one on Friday. He's asking the administration for more details about who exactly was on those 3 flights, why were they sent without following his orders, and how many more people might be still in the United States that could conceivably be sent to El Salvador, or at least deported, by using the Alien Enemies Act. He admonished them for ignoring his rulings on Saturday night. The ACLU, which is suing in this case, says they're going to ask the judge to order flights to bring back those immigrants, believing that El Salvador is basically working as a private prison on behalf of the United States.